Okay, careful. Okay, careful, because I'm about to talk a whole bunch of bullshit that might not be true for everybody. Okay, I'm about to talk a whole bunch of bullshit that might not be true for everybody. Talk to your therapist, talk to other friends, and blah, 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 blah. Oftentimes, these are just questions I have in my mind. Okay, these are questions that I have in my mind. Oftentimes, I'll hear somebody point out a mental illness they have, and then I hear somebody say something along the lines of like, well, this mental illness is actually my superpower. One of the things that I wonder sometimes is, do you actually have that mental illness, or are you very, 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 very far away, like on the lighter end of the spectrum of that mental illness? I am so curious about that. Because usually, like, I'll hear somebody say with autism is my superpower. I've met people that are actually autistic, and I've known people that have siblings or friends that are low functioning autistic. Okay, the only thing that's a superpower for is beating the shit out of your mom when you're 25 years old because the male caretaker hasn't shown up yet to like help you eat. Okay, that's the superpower. Okay, I don't know if I like it when some of these things are phrased as superpowers, because I noticed that like over the past 10 or 15 years, probably in response to the stigmatization of mental illness, which is really shitty, people have reframed it, and instead of taking an honest or accurate look at it, they started to romanticize it. ADHD is my superpower. Now again, obviously I've got some personal buy-in here, so maybe I'm an asshole. And I used to say that shit, actually. I used to say that same cope shit. I like ADHD. I can read all my chats at the same time. I can do all this shit. I can multitask and blah, 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 blah. That was a cope. That's always been a cope. Every single time I've said it, it's a cope. There has never in my life been a time where I've been on Vyvanse and I'm thinking, God, I wish I could just focus less better. Or like, oh, dude, I really want to get up and like do the laundry and this and this and this. I wish I wouldn't have taken my meds today so I could kind of just like walk around the house looking at all the things I need to do and then just go back to my phone and either masturbate or browse Reddit for 6 hours. Like, oh, why did I take my medication today? Or like, man, like I'm on stream, and we're going through topic after topic. I wish I could kind of just get like yanked around by like a random comment and like focus on that. But like, it's never, ever, ever happened. Now, maybe my ADHD is more severe, so the medication like brings me in line more, or maybe I'm not sick at all and I'm just on some crazy cope now with medication, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I've known people who have ADHD who like don't shower. They don't take care of their bodies. It's like really extreme. So sometimes when I hear people do this thing like, oh, ADHD is my superpower, like in what regard is you having like a deficiency in dopamine like a superpower? How is this helping you? Actually, one thing that I will say, hold on. Stop. One thing I will say where ADHD can be a superpower is if you need to focus on something really badly that has a consistent reward scheme, then ADHD can be a superpower. So when I was a professional StarCraft 2 player, then ADHD was super, because I could sit and play StarCraft 2 for 16 hours a day, every day, over and over and over again for months. I did that. Or when I was like playing Factorio or grinding through like my autism games. In that case, ADHD can be a superpower because like I'll sit here and I will play, Factorio for 12 hours a day over and over and over and over and over again. That ADHD can be a superpower because my understanding is if you have a dopamine deficiency because you're ADHD, right? Whether it's the biomechanical reasons are complicated and I barely even understand them, right? But if you have a dopamine deficiency, things that give you consistent streams of dopamine are very, 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 very like addicting for ADHD people. This is where the ADHD hyperfocus comes from, right? That you'll find a game or a thing that regularly rewards you and you'll grind that for 16 hours because it's finally giving you like that stimulation that you need. So yeah, I hate the romanticization of mental illness shit. It drives me fucking crazy. You have another problem with disabilities where people develop unique skills because of their disability, but that does not mean it is an inherent advantage. For example, someone's missing arms might be really good at using their feet to do stuff as an adaptation, but that doesn't mean it doesn't suck shit to miss your fucking arms. True. True. Destiny, it's a way to try and deal with the weight of whatever your diagnosis is. It is a half cope when trying to process the good and bad of a diagnosis. True. Also, this is also something that it's taken me a long time to learn. I talked about this a little bit before. Remember, you can learn maladaptive behaviors. Maladaptive behaviors are really, really, really good for some things. That's why they're maladaptive. They're adaptive because it helps you navigate a particular thing you couldn't before, but it's maladaptive. It's a poor adaptation because there's probably a better one that would require more work that would be holistically more healthy for you. So in my case, right, it's probably one thing I spoke about was I have a maladaptive issue where I don't set boundaries or anything or make asks of other people in my personal or even professional life because people in my life have always been really unreliable. So I'm very self-reliant, right? Now it's maladaptive because in some ways it's very beneficial for streaming and everything. I've been very self-reliant for the most part. part, and I've like done really good at that. But it's also maladaptive because in my personal relationships, sometimes people can get really crazy in my personal life and do absolutely insane shit that nobody else in their entire life would ever tolerate. And I might not even say anything about it publicly because it's so crazy, because I let people walk all over me, et cetera, right? So these are like examples of like a maladaptive behavior in practice, ways that it can be good, ways that it can be bad. But the best thing that you can do is, if you have a maladaptive behavior, find out why it works for you, try to like take the good from that and then apply that to your life while like getting rid of the bad, or like changing your behavior overall, if you can do that. Sorry, that's a long spiel on that, but yeah.
It's going to be real. I understand. But I think that, yes, if you are prescribed a medication for ADHD, for bipolar.
Do ADHD people get more addicted to? Is it easy to? I don't know. Like I said, before my medication, I was masturbating like 3 to 4 times a day. So I don't know if it's an ADHD thing or not. Also, if I'm like hanging out with a girl, we will like 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a night. I don't know if it's an ADHD thing or not, or what, but that's just maybe I'm just a coomer. I'm not sure. Okay, back to this. Okay.
For whatever.
Well, not the same. But wait, not the same. Like, you have to understand, ADHD medication is not the same as bipolar medication.
Certainly,
One you have to take.
Certainly. But again, if you are not taking if I have a condition, even if it's a mild condition, and I refuse to take my medication for it by choice because I just don't want to, then there is a risk of that condition exacerbating to a certain degree. And while
Brittany is super duper ultra right here. Brittany is super right here. I don't know if Wick is aware of that or wants to engage with that. For things like ADHD medication, you can either take it or you cannot take it. I mean, like, I think it'll have negative, for me, it has negative effects on my life if I don't, but that's a lot different than medication for like bipolar or, is there medication prescribed for borderline? Like other types of like actual like mental disorders. Yeah. There's no medication that specifically treats borderline, but there are several types of medication that be used. So you could probably take like anti-anxiety, like Xanax or shit like that maybe, but okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Or lithium or whatever. Okay. Is it possible to get ADHD when you're an adult if you do not display symptoms during childhood? My understanding is ADHD is pretty heritable. I don't think there are any environmental factors that play into ADHD. I used to think that, but I don't think that's true. And you either kind of have it or you don't from like an early age, I believe. I don't think you can develop ADHD. Oh God. Again, low conviction on these statements. I could be wrong, but I think ADHD has like, it's like a weird thing where you have, are these your neurons? And for some reason, your synapses between other neurons or something, basically, dopamine like kind of like leaks out of these things and doesn't get to the, I think it's your neurons, right? Doesn't get in here. And so your dopamine levels are like really low. And you can take medication. You can either take medication that pushes it back in. I think that's an amphetamine. Or you can take medication that prevents it from leaking out. I think that's methylenidate or whatever. Methylphenidate, I think, are the two different ways basically that you can treat ADHD. It's either a medication to prevent, I think, the shit from leaking, or medication to kind of like push it back in. I think, like very broadly. Also, I don't know how well neurologists understand this, and I certainly don't understand it that well. This is like, I'm trying to remember from articles I've read or whatever, but I don't understand the biological underpinnings too well for it, but yeah.